Hey everyone, my name is Brian Nichols. Hope you are all doing well. Today's video is going to be a reaction video to the UFC event that just completed, I'd say about maybe 5 minutes ago, which was UFC Fight Night Curtis Blaydes versus Alexander Volkov. It just ended, and this took place on Saturday, June 20th, 2020. And overall, I'll give the card, I'd say, there was a couple good fights on the card. I'd say maybe it wasn't it definitely was the top of the heap. It definitely wasn't the flaming pile of garbage. I did miss one fight, which was the fourth fight in the card. Which, looking back at my list here, was Courtney Casey versus Jillian Robertson. I did miss that, so I have to go back and watch that myself. But other than that, I saw all the other fights, and I'd say overall maybe a 6. You know, um, maybe I'll change my mind going through all the fights. But let's get right into it, shall we? Before we go any further, if you haven't seen the fights, go watch them. I'm gonna spoil them for you. Going reacting to all the fights. Number one, number two. I'm gonna go through all the fights, not just the main card and prelims. I've thought about doing some of my reaction videos and only doing the main card, but there's sometimes such crazy fights on the prelims, it just overshadows some of the fights on the main card. It's like I have to go over the prelims. So there are some fights I will go through really quickly, but there are other ones that I will go more in depth that should be talked about more. So with that, let's get right into the main event, shall we? So in the main event, we had Curtis Razor Blaydes defeating Alexander Volkov after going 5-minute rounds. During the fight, I went and looked at Tapology to look at Curtis Blaydes' record to see if he's went to championship rounds, and in fact, he has not. Today was his first event that he went 5-minute rounds. Alexander Volkov, rather, he went 5-minute rounds in Bellator back in 2012. So that was the last time he went all 5 rounds. And I'll say Volkov actually had decent gas in that fifth round, whereas you could see Blaydes, I think it was right at the end of the third round, he was on the struggle bus for air, sitting on that stool. And obviously Curtis was doing a lot of the wrestling, and Volkov trying to stop some of the takedowns, trying to stop a lot of the takedowns, and he did. I'd give Volkov actually props. He did really well. And then he was able to stick it to Curtis. You would think Volkov would be the one that'd be more gassed. But man, I say Blaydes took it 3-0 in the beginning and then lost those last 2 rounds. Possibly. I don't know. I didn't really score that one. I have some other fights on my list per my notes that I scored. But I know the very first round, it was just literally Blaydes just on top the entire time, just basically putting his weight on him up against the cage. And at one point, I made a note here. I think it was, so I think it was the first round. Michael Bisping was talking about how in the position they were in, where Volkov was kind of down on one knee and one hand on the ground, leaned up against the cage, and Blaydes was kind of over top of him with I don't think he had any hooks in, but I think he had his arms over him, just kind of putting his weight on him. And Michael Bisping was saying that at this point it was a stalemate, and Dominic Cruz spoke up and said he completely disagrees and that states that Blaydes is dominating Volkov. And in my mind, I kind of agree with Bisping a little bit here, because in this fight did go to the judges, since it went all 5 rounds. And if you want to go by what the judges should be ruling these fights by, I know conversations about judges and ruling and all that jazz have a separate time. But per the new rules that I'm pretty sure Nevada has adopted, the judges should be going by damage. And they said that first round, Curtis was just holding Volkov, not holding, but putting his weight on, wrestling him basically. I think he did get a couple shots in there, not much, but he was just a lot of wrestling that first round. And while wrestling's great, like the old rules, that would definitely get you the win. In these new rules, you need to get damage. You need to get As far as I know, damage is number 1 right now, per the new rules. It's literally in the. I'm pretty sure it specifies rules. I'd like to actually find the ABC unified rules for MMA. I'd like to kind of review them myself, just kind of, or have them on standby when I kind of make these things, have these discussions, because sometimes I question myself. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, and blah blah, but I'm pretty positive on this one. I'm pretty sure in the rules it said damage. So for me, I would be going by what the judges should be scoring. And at that point, if Blaydes wasn't doing any damage, Volkov wasn't doing any damage, it's a stalemate as of that moment. Sure, at the end of the round, maybe Volkov got up, got some shots on him, and then, of course, it's not a stalemate at that point. But up to that point, I don't think Blaydes got any damage on him. Even though he, yes, was winning in the wrestling department, there was no damage. So that was my take on that. Let's see. Yeah, I noted Blaydes was breathing really hard after round 3. That round 5, I want to say Blaydes was either going for a upper, like he was kind of leaning down, or maybe he was going for a takedown. I couldn't tell. But Volkov threw a knee or a kick, a head kick, or at least it would have been a body kick or something, and Blaydes kind of leaned into it, kind of a la, God, what's his name? I can see his face, and I can see the other guy's face. Bantamweights. Jeez. I'm forgetting their names. Funkmaster. God, why am I forgetting his name? Either way, Funkmaster went to lean down for something, and it was just kind of like a knee/head kick and knocked him out. And I was like, damn. Hold on. Now it's killing me. Now I gotta look. How am I forgetting his name? Hey, Aljamain Sterling. Jesus. Marlon Moraes. God, I'm not in my game today. It almost looked like that, but obviously Blaydes didn't get knocked out. And I was like, damn. So that was pretty cool. And the last but not least, the last comment I had here in my notes was, did you guys see that post-fight interview right at the end with Curtis Blaydes? Blaydes, the dude needs to, give the guy a couple minutes. Like, he was exhausted. Like, it was hard for him to talk, to stand still. He almost, like, stumbled back. He was still all kind of bloodied up. He was, like, touching his face and shit. That was rough to watch at the end. So overall, I mean, it wasn't a barn burner. It wasn't honestly all that exciting. But it was a win. A win's a win for Blaydes. Keeps him at the top. It's unfortunate for Blaydes. Obviously, fortunate for Ngannou. But if you look at let me bring up the rankings here. Looking at the heavyweight rankings, obviously we have Stipe as the champion, with Daniel Cormier rematching him, supposedly, I think they said in August. And Ngannou is second. Curtis Blaydes is third. I think Curtis literally has only ever lost 2 fights, in both to Ngannou. So let me look. Ngannou. Yeah. So his only 2 fights that he's lost were to Ngannou. So with that, what do you do with Blaydes? Do you make him fight another person that's behind him? Like, do you make him wait for literally the Stipe and DC fight to be done, and then whoever wins that fights Ngannou, and then whoever wins that possibly fights Blaydes? How long is Blaydes going to be out for? I mean, if that fight's in August, and then Ngannou takes the next fight, let's say 3 or 4 months later, so August, September, October, November, say December, January timeframe, and the Ngannou fight. So almost this time next year, that's when Blaydes is going to fight again. I don't think he'll like that idea, but I don't know. Unless he takes another fight with somebody below him, I don't think they're going to give him another fight with Ngannou, unless it's like a title, possibly. But yeah, that's a hard sell. Volkov, I think he did well. He can just go back to the drawing board. Let's see, what was his record before today? I think he was 31-7. But now he lost Cruz Blaydes. His last fight was November 2018 against Greg Hardy, and then before that, the loss of Derek Lewis that a lot of people know about. Before that, he beat Stefan Struve, Verdum, Roy Nelson. So, he had a lot of wins, then lost to Derek Lewis, then won Greg Hardy, and then lost Curtis Blaydes. So, he'll still be at the top. He can get definitely another heavyweight fight. So, okay, main event, nothing too crazy. 11th fight on the card. The co-main event, Josh Emmett defeating Shane Burgos, goes all 3 5-minute rounds. This was a featherweight fight. and it was a unanimous decision from the judges for Josh Emmett, and I scored that, I want to say 2-1 for Emmett, if I remember correctly. But Jesus Christ, that first round, I know a lot of people are saying that the fight of the year contender, that could be a fight of the year contender. I agree. It was a banger. And dude, Shane Burgos always brings it. Oh, I meant to add this in the beginning, but I was talking to some of my friends, and I was like, fuck it, I'll make a little prediction. I don't like to do a lot of predictions, but I predicted just the main card. I literally got all 5 correct. I'll talk about which one I was really questioning. Like this fight, I was like, damn, dude, Shane Burgos is such a beast. Even my buddy's like, are you sure about Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos? I'm like, but I think that was my first time ever going 5 for 5 on predictions whenever I do them. So I was pretty excited about that. Anyways, so yeah, what a first round for that Emmett and Burgos fight. Like, holy fuck, they just came out swinging. It was I want to talk about let's talk about Shane Burgos. Let's talk about, can we please get that man through an x-ray machine or through some medical examinations to determine what his fucking chin is made of? That dude it's got to be made out of material out from another planet. The dude took some shots that Josh Emmett is throwing on people, and they just crumple. And the shots that Burgos was able, I don't know if he was just like rolling with the punches a lot, because some of them didn't look like he was wrong. He looked like he was taking them flush. Like you could see his head snapping. I was like, that dude's getting lit up. And Burgos is taking it though. He's almost like taking it just to give some. Kind of like old Gaethje. He would try to take some just to give some. And maybe Burgos will learn, because this is his second loss for Shane Burgos. I think, like they said on the broadcast, Calvin Kattar was his first loss. Let me make sure. Yeah, that was early 2018, and now he got another loss about mid-2020. So, I mean, he could definitely go back to the drawing board. Burgos is a beast. But damn, Josh Emmett, he's at the top, man. Let's see, if at 145, who else could Emmett fight at featherweight? I know Volkanovski was like, I'm keeping eyes on this one. Let's see, who's in front of Josh Emmett? So Frankie Edgar, but I think Frankie's going to bantamweight, if I remember correctly. Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez, Chan Sung Jung, Korean Zombie, Zabit, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway, and of course the champion. So if I look at Josh Emmett's record real quick, he's only 16-2. Obviously that one loss was to Jeremy Stephens. The other one was Desmond Green, who's in jail. But I think he's still in jail. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into Desmond Green. If you haven't heard about that, I think Desmond Green was in an accident in Florida. I want to say he was drunk driving and killed somebody. I'm not 100% sure, but check the facts on that. I think that's the last I heard. But those are all these 2 losses, Jeremy Stephens and Desmond Green. So Jeremy Stephens obviously still relevant. Other than that, that's it. Josh Emmett's a fucking beast. So who else at featherweight? Let's see. Above Josh Emmett, has he fought Frank? Well, let's ignore Frankie since he's possibly going to bantamweight. Calvin Kattar, has he fought Calvin? No. Bam. There's a fight right there. Has he fought Yair Rodriguez? I don't see him. Let me double check with the old Control F. Yair. No Yair. That's another fight. Because I agree. Josh was saying post-fight saying, I shouldn't be fighting anybody else behind me. Like, dude, I totally agree. You need almost top 5. Because Emmett's number 8 right now. So if Burgos is 10. So if Emmett goes, let's say he just replaces Frankie, he'll be number 7. You got Calvin Kattar, Yair, Korean Zombie, Zabit, Brian Ortega, and Max Holloway. And I want to say Brian Ortega and Korean Zombie are going to fight. So maybe either Yair or Zabit or Calvin. I don't know if Calvin Kattar has any fights lined up. So, but whoa, what a fucking fight though. Let's see. Damn, dude, also fighting through that knee injury. Dude, Emmett could have almost done better in that fight if it wasn't for either hyperextending his knee or blowing out his ACL. Hopefully there's no issues so he can be healthy and get back in there quickly. But, Jesus Christ, dude, to not only win like that, but also have a knee injury, like what, a minute in? Was it less than that? And then again, Burgos, like I was talking about with his fucking chin, getting knocked down in the 3rd round. I want to say 3 times, maybe definitely twice, maybe 3. But the dude, like, it's like he wouldn't like knock down like flat cold. He would just always like be like mid. He would hit and just I looked and he was like laughing when he was hit the ground. I'm like, what the fuck? Dude was insane. So that was a crazy fight. So that definitely raised the bar for the card overall. So that was a great fight. 10th fight on the card, we have Raquel Pennington defeating Marion Reneau. This was at bantamweight, and it was a unanimous decision for Raquel after all 3 rounds were completed. This fight, Pennington looked good. I know her and Tisha obviously train together and are spouses. I know they're together. And damn, dude, they both look good. Like, Pennington almost looked better than I've ever seen her, to be honest. I don't think she should be up fighting for the title, but she looks better than ever. So if she keeps sticking to that, maybe get another title shot down the line. Maybe let's say Amanda finally retires. Somebody else, let's say they have another different shot, and by that time maybe Raquel will be the next challenger for that champion. That could happen. And maybe she could actually get a title, because Raquel's always game. But I kind of feel bad for Marion Reneau, like being her birthday, losing, and looked rough. Like she was in it though, but it was the tie clinch that kind of like the broadcast was talking about. But you could see it, and it was interesting what Dominic Cruz was saying. I didn't know about that, and that's one thing I'm going to keep in mind when it comes to that tie clinch technique and kind of keep an eye for that. He was saying that the right hand had to go between the 2 hands that are kind of grabbing you, like between the elbows. And I think Michael Bisping said, yeah, kind of like you want to do your own tie clinch, like just keep going in between. I thought that was kind of interesting. And dude, it almost looked like Anderson Silva, Rich Franklin, where Anderson was just holding that shit and just knee, and I'm like, holy fuck. And then finally Rich Franklin goes down, and I almost felt like that was going on. Obviously not to that degree, but Pennington was bombing her with him. And obviously Raquel takes the win there. So good fight for Raquel. Keep doing her thing and keep working her way up the rankings. Next, we had the 9th fight, another fight that went all 3 rounds. It was Bilal Muhammad defeating Lyman Good. Goddamn, this fight definitely up the bar for the card overall. This fight, Lyman Good, dude, he looks fucking scary. Let me look at his record before today's fight. He was 21-5, and so prior to this, he beat Chance, and then before that, he lost to Damian Maia via rear naked choke, beat Ben Saunders, and then he lost to Elizeu Zaleski in 2017. So he's been kind of all over the place. His first fight was against Andrew Craig in 2015 in the UFC. Then he fought in 2017, once in 2018, twice in 2019, and then lost 2020. It's literally loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. That's his record in the UFC. So the dude looks scary as fuck, and his wins, let's see, punches, round 1, ground and pound, round 3, punches, round 2. So the dude's a beast. But Bilal's overall game, his fight IQ, his game plan, his coaches, his corners, and his athleticism won him that fight. They were talking about on the broadcast how he kept going left and right and being able to switch stance. Dude, he was doing it perfect. Like, I want to say Lyman was trying to corner him, but Bilal was doing so good about, he would like constantly be going to the right, then he started going left, and then once he would stop, then he would explode and hit Lyman with like a strike or two. I want to say it was like a 1-2, and then he would kind of roll out of the way. And he was just doing that over and over in the first couple rounds. And I definitely had Bilal take round 1, and I think at the end of the fight, I had a 2-1 Bilal, and that's what the judges went with. And I also liked, per my notes, in the 3rd round, Bilal went for a takedown, and I think I've seen Frankie Edgar do this shit. I don't know why fighters don't do this more, especially wrestlers, especially people that are wrestlers, or maybe not wrestlers, a la like GSP, but are really good at getting takedowns that are known for their takedowns. Fuck it. Add in your arsenal, add in your list of techniques, a takedown fake and then into a knee, because most people are going to try to sprawl, sprawl or use some other defensive way to stop the takedown, maybe against the cage, start spreading their legs, try to get arms underhooked you, or push down on the head. And granted, if that's up against the cage, I don't know if you want to do the attempt to take down to a knee. You could, but out in the open, that's what Blaydes did. He went for the takedown, and I think he kind of backed up to grab the head to hit the knee, and he hit him with it. I don't think it was a straight, perfect shot, but it hit him. And I was like, damn, dude, people need to do that more. I'm surprised we don't see that any more than we currently do. But dude, Lyman was coming back in that third round. All of a sudden, Blaydes, yeah, I think he got knocked down if I remember correctly. And then Lyman kind of started lighting him up, had him up against the cage, lighting him up. Blaydes just wasn't moving, dude. So he was able to live throughout that third round and get the win 2-1. So great fight for Blaydes, just moving on up, dude. Next, the first fight on the main card, fight number 8, we had Jim Miller defeating Roosevelt Roberts. Round 1, 2 minutes and 25 seconds via an armbar submission. Holy shit. Jim Miller is a beast. Jim Miller is such a down-to-earth guy. Granted, I don't know him personally, but from the interviews I've seen, from the things I've read about him, and the things he said in the post-fight interviews, and just how he conducts himself, he's such a good dude. I want to be friends with him, He's somebody I would want to be a friend or be in my family. He just, granted, again, I don't know that much about him, just from what I know and from what I see from an outsider's perspective. He just seems such a good dude, and it's just so good to see him continually win fights. All the records he's setting, and he's getting close to beating other records, and the whole Lyme's disease thing, and so the fight was awesome. Roosevelt Roberts went to, I want to say, go for a kick real quick, and Jim Miller threw a kick at the same time, hit the other leg that wasn't kicking, so Roosevelt fell. Jim Miller just hopped on him and just stayed right on top of him, and Roosevelt standing up, Jim was able to turn his hips, get into the armbar position, and Roosevelt had him down to the mat. And I think Roosevelt was doing the correct thing, where he was kind of stacking on top of him, trying to keep so his arm didn't get extended. But for some reason, Roosevelt thought he could possibly pull out, went to stand up, and Jim just locked it in more, and Roosevelt had to tap verbally for that. So great win for Jim Miller. I'm always conflicted with Jim Miller. I want the guy to win. I want him to, honestly, I want all fighters to be winners and succeed, to be honest. But Jim Miller, man, he has a spot in my heart, and because he's such a nice guy. Again, from what I see, and but I do feel bad though. It's bittersweet, because I like seeing him win, but then it makes me think in the back of my head, this is just going to set him up for harder and harder and harder fights. I know in the post-fight interview, he talks about how, he's just feeling better. His athleticism coming back, his physicality is coming back, and I can see it. He looks fucking menacing. Jim Miller does, but is Jim Miller really going to? I saw this fight was at 160. I didn't read up on why exactly that was 160. Because typically, I'm pretty sure he fights at lightweight. Let me look at his last couple fights. Yeah, lightweight. So, do we really want Jim Miller to fight? Let me look at the rankings for lightweight. I'm sure some of you could rattle off some of the top 5 in lightweight. Khabib, Justin Gaethje, Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier. Granted, Jim Miller's going to be thrown right in with Dustin Poirier. But if let's say he gets thrown in the top 15. Let's look at just 10 through 15. Diego Ferreira, Gregor Gillespie, Donald Cerrone, Islam Makhachev, Beneil Dariush, Drew Dober. Maybe Drew Dober. I think Drew Dober had a fight recently, and he looked really good. Maybe Beneil Dariush and Jim Miller, if that hasn't happened already. I'm down for that fight. Let's just see where Jim Miller is. I just don't want to get Jim. It's almost similar to Cowboy, but Cowboy's just always in the top 10, top 5, and he'll get that really high-profile fight. Going for the title, fighting Conor, things like that, and then he falls short. And I feel like Jim Miller kind of does the same thing, and it sucks. And I don't want to see that. So Great fight for Jim Miller. Dude, if they want to just keep going the route Jim Miller's doing, dude, keep doing what you're doing. But if he's going to break into that top 15 and when you actually go for a title, it's going to be rough. So, but yeah. All right, moving on. We're on to the prelims. 7th fight, we have Bobby Green taking on Clay Guida. Bobby Green wins via unanimous decision. This fight, they kept talking about on the broadcast how Bobby Green keeps getting the short end of the stick with the judges when it comes to decisions. And I was like, dude, you guys are going to jinx him. Just stop. Because Michael Bisping's like, man, it might happen again. I'm like, don't, you're jinxing the dude. But Bobby Green looked really good. I know, like they're saying on the broadcast, that Bobby Green took a little break. And I don't know if this was his fight back. Let me check his thing real quick. Let's see, 2018. Then he fought late 2019. So he took a year off from 2018 to 2019, and then this one was about a 7-month break. So he had 2 losses before this. So he won against Eric Koch. So he won in early 2018, and then now won mid-2020. So about 2.5 years between a win and a win. He had 2 losses between those. But his record does not look good since like 2014. So just to talk about Bobby Green's last 3 wins, listen to this. Clay Guida today, right? June 20th, 2020. That's his latest win. His win before that was Eric Koch, January 2018, so about 2.5 years ago. Before that, his last win was Josh Thompson. Jesus, 2014, dude. That was 4 years before that. Wow. And the thing is, all the fights in between them aren't losses. There's a lot of canceled bouts, but there are losses. There's a draw with Lando Venata. Damn. I could see why Bobby Green would be upset. But this is a good win for him. Dude, get a good win over a big name. Not big name, but a well-known fighter. Clay Guida, super awesome dude. And, yeah, Bobby Green on the winning scoreboard there. Fight for that, fight number 6. Tecia Torres defeating Brianna Van Buren by unanimous decision. I'm going to say I'm super biased about Brianna Van Buren. She definitely could have done a lot better. I'm sure she probably knows she could have done a lot better. But, yeah, they were talking on the broadcast how Brianna just couldn't kind of put the puzzle together of what to do with Tecia. Like, she was trying to get some things done, but Tecia was so fast, so dynamic. Like, Tecia looked really good today as well. She kind of looked, I don't want to say she looked like spectacular, like all of a sudden completely new game, but she looked like her, but a little extra. And Brianna just couldn't keep up with that. Brianna, I was at that Invicta event where she won that tournament when she won all 3 fights. And that event, 2 of those 3 fights she finished. So I was pretty hyped on Brianna. And then she came to the UFC and won that fight, her first fight. And I think this is her second fight in the UFC. That's a pretty crazy thing. Second fight in the UFC and you're fighting Tecia Torres. Like, that chick's pretty tough to beat as it is. Yeah, she beat Olivia Renata Souza. That was about mid-2019. And then now she fought Tecia Torres. She was supposed to fight Hannah Cyphers, which I think would have been a little better of a, step up instead of Tecia Torres. So, unfortunately, she'll take the back seat. But great for Tecia. Moving on, fight number 5, we have Marc-Andre. I had to write down how to pronounce his name because I didn't want to mess it up. Burial defeats Oscar Piolta. This was round number 2, 4 minutes 50 seconds. There was only 10 seconds left in the round. In round number 2, it was KO, TKO, uppercuts to ground and pound. This fight, they're again on the broadcast. Maybe I need to mute these broadcasts. But they were talking about how Piota would gas out a lot. He would start great, and then later in the fight he kind of gasses, and you could kind of see that in round number 2. He was like kind of sluggish, it looked like, and Barrial kind of just laid it on him and got the win. It was a good win. Yeah, it looked like it was an uppercut and a knee per my notes that kind of led to the finish there. So good fight. A lot of uppercuts in that fight, and I love uppercuts, so that was cool. Fight number 4, Jillian Robertson defeats Courtney Casey. This is the one that I missed, so I won't make any comment about that. Next, round number 3. God damn. You want to talk about an entrance. Justin James defeating Frank. In my preview video, I think I said Frank the Tank, but I guess Frank the Crank Camacho. Fuck that up. But defeats Frank Camacho 41 seconds in round number 1 via, literally just says KO, TKO, hooks. That's literally what I had my thing. I go hook, 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 right hand hook. The dude was just left hand hook. And that's what literally got Frank, and they got up the cage. And he was and Justin was swinging, missed, and they finally hit him with the right, and then another hook, left hand, and then that was it. And Herb Dean had to pull him off. I was like, Jesus Christ. So fucking great entrance, great fight for Justin James. Looking forward to seeing how his career goes. Looks like with that fight, he's now 16-4. So this is his first fight in the UFC. And they're talking about on the broadcast how they're like, fuck it, might as well go for it in the first round. I was like, kind of makes sense. If you're a fighter like Justin Gaethje fighting Tony Ferguson, or what's another fighter that's like high profile, Cowboy Cerrone, like really, really well-known and respected fighters. Not that I'm saying Justin James isn't, but I've never heard of him. So first fight in the UFC. If you're in super shape, like maybe you've already been practicing your sparring and doing 3 rounds of 5 minutes already before, like right up before it, maybe you should be okay to go all 3 rounds. But if you didn't and you just had 10 days to get ready for the fight, yeah, try to empty the gas tank in that first round. If that might be your only shot, if you're fighting a wrestler, they might outgas you. Fuck it, throw caution to the wind, go for it for the first round, because it worked out for Justin James. Because I want to say typically people that come into the UFC on their very first fight and on short notice typically don't win, and this guy won, and that might be the way you do it. Just fucking guns blazing first round. So great fight there. Let's see. Second fight in the card, Lauren Murphy defeats Roxanne Modafferi. This was unanimous decision for Lauren Murphy. I watched the fight. I really didn't have many comments here, so I won't talk about this one much. It was kind of a back and forth, nothing too crazy. And the very first fight, I have a lot of notes about this one, and I'm sure you guys have some interesting words as well. Here we have Austin Hubbard defeating Max. I had a Roshkov. This was at the end of round 2, and per Tapology, they called it retirement. And I guess that's another way of saying basically one of the fighters quit on the stool, so they consider that retirement. Let's talk about the fight first. What I noticed in the very first round is Hubbard looked really good. His striking looked good. Throughout that first round, you could almost see Hubbard getting more comfortable. And then obviously in the second round, he was like feeling it. And he was just lighting Roshkov up. And Roshkov tried like the Imanari roll. He tried to take him down and go for the legs. Like the dude looked good. Roshkov did. And they were talking about the broadcast because I didn't know much about Roshkov. They were saying he was a jiu-jitsu phenom and he did really good with that. But probably his striking's lacking. You could kind of see that obviously in the second round. You could also tell he was gassed in that second round. And Roshkov definitely had nothing. Like that first round, okay, it was a little bit of back and forth between Hubbard and Roshkov. And then that second round, it was basically Hubbard beating up on Roshkov. Roshkov just was so gassed. You could see like he was just trying to, he wasn't getting pummeled, but he was just trying not to get beat up anymore. And you could tell he was gassed. He goes back to the corner and so that's the fight. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the corner of Max Roshkov. Let's describe the situation. First, Roshkov goes and sits on his stool, head down, like totally defeated. I don't know who his cornermen are. I should look them up because we need to get these people's names out there. And Max Roshkov was telling his corner, he just kept saying, was he saying stop it? Yeah, he kept saying stop it. He goes, stop it. And his corner saying, stop, dude, you're a champion, you could do this, blah, blah, blah. He was saying, stop it. I should go back and watch the replay and see how many times Max was saying that on the stool in that 1 minute. It blew my mind how many times he had to say that. Because to me, man, it's so hard to be a outsider perspective because in my mind, the cornermen should know this fighter. They should know Roshkov. Now, I don't know Roshkov. These could be complete bums off the street being his corner. I assume not. So I assume he knows his cornerman. But maybe this is his first camp with a cornerman. Some of these fighters, let's say Daniel Cormier, has been with AKA for years. He probably knows his coaches, his cornermen, his fellow teammates. He probably knows them so well and knows their interests. He probably knows their dislikes. He probably knows their families. He has so much invested in them, and it kills me when you have somebody that is in a situation like Roshkov. He took a fight on short notice. He was only, basically known, I guess, up to this point for his jiu-jitsu. Granted, he was 5-0, but only 5-0. Compared to Austin, he was, 11-4. So 15 fights versus 5. There's so many failures on this fight that I want to talk about, like matchmaking. 15 fights versus 5. That's 10 extra fights for Austin. And plus, Austin's stand-up looked great. Obviously, if Roshkov had no stand-up, what are we doing with matchmaking, putting him in there against him? Maybe they had no other option. Roshkov probably got paid dirt for the fight. And then now he's in the corner and he's telling his cornerman to stop the fight because he is completely gassed and he doesn't want to get beat up anymore. And his corner says, shut the fuck up, you're a champion, you can do this. Like, why don't you shut the fuck up? Why don't you get in the cage and do it then? Like, it just, oh my God, it's so infuriating. Like, to go back to the part I was talking about with DC, and like, if DC's in the corner and maybe not, it's because the cornerman has to know their fighter and the fighter has to know their cornerman. They have to have that bond. They have to understand each other. There's Trevor Whitman, a coach where if his cornerman, I've seen it once already, where his corner is like so gassed. He's like, Nate, you there, buddy? And he's like, oh no. He's like, nope, call it. It's like instantly. Like, dude, these are people. I don't know. I don't think I can really form all the sentences and things I want to talk about this, but it's just very, very infuriating. Let me close on this. Basically, not only during the whole entire 1 minute that Roshkov told his corner, please stop the fight, and his corner basically refused and said, fuck you, get back in there, you can do this, get him, Tiger, slap on the ass. It took fucking Mike Smith, the ref, to finally hear it and be like, because I don't know if the doctor was there. I know the cut man was there, but I don't know if somebody else heard, because Bruce Buffer said per doctor's recommendation. What the fuck are you talking about? He told the ref. He told Mike Smith. Mike Smith goes over, goes, because he goes, timeout. Goes over to the kid, goes, hey, do you want to continue? He goes, no. He goes, all right, that's it. Mike Smith was able to do him better in a favor than his fucking corner. Like, is this seriously down to the point because the corner is going to get paid? Like, do they have some kind of contracts with these coaches and cornermen with the fighter that they get a percentage of their winnings? Because if that's the case, we have a conflict of interest. These cornermen are going to make more money if the fighters win. So they're like, fuck it, get back in there. Is that what's going on? I don't know. Are they just getting a flat fee? If that's the case, money's not the driving factor. Is because they just, granted, maybe it still is it still could be, because if Max won the fight and keeps winning, makes Conor money. Obviously, his coaches and corner are probably gonna make more money, so it could still be a money issue. Or is it he doesn't know Max Roshkov's his breaking point? Maybe he didn't understand his endurance. Maybe he's seen him tired and thought, dude, you've kept going. What's going on? But he didn't try to talk to him about it. He just said, no, you're good. You know, blah, 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 you're a champion. He didn't try to have a conversation with him. He didn't even do that. He didn't even do that courtesy. He just said, no, fuck you, get back in there. And it took the referee, Mike Smith, thank God, to come over and say something. It was super, super infuriating, and I was super pissed. My wife was down here, and she was talking to me about something, and I kept hearing, like, stop it. I'm like, hold on. And I turned it up, because I was, between rounds, I was just talking to the wife, and I was like, hold on, I think this dude's saying stop it. And I had to, like, turn it up and listen. I was like, what the fuck? And his corner's just ignoring him. I was super pissed. And I feel like shit. Just thinking about it. Just did him dirty. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. So, overall, like I said, the fight card was a 6. 6. I'd give it that. Outside of that, let's talk about future cards. I think the next event is Dustin Poirier taking on Dan Hooker. So I'm 100% going to do a preview video for that. I don't know the entire card. I think I saw the main card and it looked pretty good. I don't know. I wanted to do a preview video, kind of go through all the fights and go over that. So with that, I'm already 40 minutes fucking in. This video is so long. If you've watched this whole time, thanks for watching. And let me know your thoughts. What was your favorite fight on the card? I'd say my favorite fart. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's fucking late. My favorite fight had to be Jim Miller and Roosevelt Roberts. Like, just granted, it wasn't that long or competitive. Well, yeah. No, I can say that. It wasn't even competitive. It's just Jim Miller winning is just Jim's got a soft spot for me. But the Shane Burgos and Josh Emmett fight was really fucking good too. So those are my 2 fights. I'd say Jim Miller stood out. Breakthrough, I would have to say probably Bilal Muhammad. Dude, his IQ, fight IQ and all that shit, fucking stand out right there. Him and Jim Miller, standouts for the night. And then fight of the night, our co-main event. So that's what I would give it if I had $50,000 to give everybody. Granted, I would be giving more money if I had that shit, because never mind. I'm gonna stop. Anyways, thanks again for watching. That's the end of the video. Give a thumbs up, like, fucking subscribe, all that jazz. Like I said, I'm gonna do a video next week about a preview for the next upcoming UFC events. Also, I need to look into see if there's any other MMA promotions that are starting up, like maybe any of the local ones or smaller promotions, or even Bellator. I don't know when Bellator is starting back up. But, yeah, anyways. All right, thanks again for watching. Have a good night. And talk to you guys next time. Peace.